Hello there, everybody, and today I'm going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. So this is the sequel to the first movie. It's been a bit since I reviewed the other Ninja Turtle movie, the first movie. That was months ago. And I know I reviewed Batman vs. Ninja Turtles, but I'm going to talk about the second movie today. So I think this came out, 1990 something, like 1993 or 2. I don't know for sure, but it's basically about the turtles are on a goose chase against the canister ooze that mutated them, and Shredder is back, surprisingly, and he wants it so he can create an army to take down the turtles for revenge of what they did to him in the last movie. So they toned down a bunch of things in this movie because the first movie got backlash because it was, too violent. Because we know the Ninja Turtles from the 80s show at the time, where they were just these fun-loving surfer dudes, or surfer-like, who just eat pizza and fight crazy supervillains. But in that first movie, it was more like the Mirage comic books. In this movie, it's campy. This movie is definitely meant to be just a fun movie you can watch with your family. Honestly, I can even see it in the family section of Netflix. So, there are some changes here. They recast some characters. For example, Judith Ho is not playing April this time. I think it was because of behind-the-scenes drama or something. I think the actress who plays April in this is Paige Schuyler or something. Sorry if I said her name wrong. But, she's pretty good as April. Just not as good as Judith Ho. This one, I don't know why. She just seems familiar. And so, also, Donatello's voice is replaced by someone else. Corey Feldman couldn't do it because he was dealing with some personal issues. But he did return to the third movie, though. But anyway, let's analyze this movie. So it opens with a bunch of people eating pizza. It's very nice scene. It made me hungry for pizza myself. And we're introduced to this boy named Keno. And I forget who he's played by, but Keno, I think he replaced Casey Jones in this, because I guess they thought Casey Jones was a little too violent of a character, even though the guy who played him was amazing as Casey Jones. But Keno's a nice character. He's a good ally to the Turtles. But yeah, I feel like we could have gotten a little more of him. But he hangs out with the Turtles enough, I guess. When he literally meets them in the first scene. And this is how you know the movie's going to be kid-friendly. Keno tries to stop a robbery after trying to deliver pizza to April O'Neil. But the burglars, they're wearing these sort of ski-looking masks. But then after Keno takes a few down saying he knows martial arts, a bunch of other goons show up, and then that's where the Turtles show up, and they're like, hi-ya. Instead of using their weapons, they just use sort of slapstick to take down these goons. Donnie pretends to be those bouncing clown toy, after he's like, yeah, and then he literally pokes a criminal and chases him and tries to hug him, and Leo puts his swords in the wall and he just literally kicks an enemy. Raph does a few things, I'm pretty sure. But Mikey's thrown near this sausage hot dog place. I assume this is at a mall. And then Mikey uses his they weren't even nunchucks. They were these sausages that looked like hot dogs. And he's just like, combat, Carl. And he goes, whoa. And they basically defeat these guys. And then Raph tells Keno, just don't tell anyone what just happened. But then Keno tries to call the cops, but when he gets back to the warehouse, where the criminals were. They're already tied up. But then later, we see the fate of Shredder. Yeah, he's been buried deep underground in the garbage, but he is unleashed. But apparently the Foot Clan has fled to this junkyard. And I can respect this about the TMNT movies. They actually made the Foot Clan seem like a community. Like, you actually felt they were friends, like a club. They even referred to themselves as family in the first movie. But in this, we just get the foot soldiers. And they definitely are human and talk. Unlike most versions where they don't talk. But it appears Tatsu and Shredder are back. And then Tatsu's even surprised Shredder is alive. And Shredder's basically just saying he wants his revenge while he's forging his new helmet. It looks sharper. You definitely don't want to touch that. And that's where we leave off with the Turtles. They're at April's apartment. It looks like they're living there for a bit. They have comics everywhere, skateboards, pizza. Apparently they're constantly ordering pizza. And they're just screwing around when they finally get back from their victory. They say a few weird catchphrases. And they do this running gag where Donnie tries to say this something cool, like a cool catchphrase. And he does it again. And the Turtles are just like, give it up, Donnie. But then we see the return of Splinter, still played by the voice of Elmo, who decides, I think he's just going to mentor the Turtles a little. Like, he teaches them some lessons. Like, he teaches them the secret to use, which makes them worried for the future. And I'm just going to randomly say this. We also see a scene of the Twin Towers before you know what happened years later. So, it's surprising that this movie actually was probably filmed in New York. I probably had to look it up. But anyway, Splinter has this canister of ooze that mutated him, and he apparently reveals that he's been holding onto it for years. And the Turtles are questioning why he's kept it so long. Because he's suspicious of what is to come. Because on the news lately, April's interviewing various scientists about the mutagen and what their plans of it is. And that's where we meet the best scientist in this movie, Professor Perry, played by David Winner. Yeah, he's definitely a very legendary actor. He's played Ra's al Ghul. He was in this movie. He was in Titanic. Like, he is a legendary actor. And I love this character, Professor Perry. I think it was revealed that he was going to be an Utron. But I think they cut that out. And he's just a human scientist. And it appears that Professor Perry is a target. Because he wants to dispose of the mutagen. Because it's dangerous. But the Foot Clan are after him. And they capture him while he's trying to dispose of it. And that's where the Turtles come in. And they try to find this last canister of ooze. But that's where they run into the Foot Clan. And now they're like having basically a goose chase over the mutagen. Like, they're tossing it to various one another's. Like, while the foot soldiers are trying to grab it. And Donnie's like, Mikey, surf's up, dude. And, like, they even tried using a computer to find active ones. And it just shows how technology has changed. Like, look at that computer. It's so 90s. So retro. But apparently Tatsu and the foot soldiers disappear with the canister. And now they're worried what's going to happen. And we get a few scenes. The Turtles want to leave April's apartment because they're worried living there will put April in danger, just like the last movie. And, yeah, they learned their lesson from the last movie, I guess. But they're interrupted when Keno shows up. And he already knows who the Turtles are, but he hasn't learned their backstory yet. He ends up getting suspicious because April's been ordering pizza so many times because the Turtles are constantly ordering pizza. But he ends up fighting Mikey's nunchucks because he forgot to grab them before hiding. But April acting like she's into nunchucks and instead Kino finds Raph's foot sticking out, and then he steps on it, and then Kino sees the turtles. They all freak out, and then they see Splinter, but passes out, and then later, Kino is basically told the backstory of the turtles and Splinter, and you already know that story. And they introduce their names, surprisingly. But then later, meanwhile, Professor Perry, his life is kind of on the line. Like, he's used as a hostage by Shredder, and he wants him to create 2 super mutants. And this is where the movie, people would probably complain about it. People probably wanted to see Bebop and Rocksteady, but instead we got Toka and Razar. Now, I don't mind these characters. I'm actually surprised they chose them for this movie. When I saw this originally, I didn't even know who they were until we finally got Razar in the 2012 show. But they were in the 80s show. This is where they got their names, Razar and Toka, or Razor, whatever you want to call them. And apparently, these 2 mutants they have the mind of an infant. I love the part where Shredder's like, "What is taking so long?" And Professor Perry's like, "I don't know. I told you many times. I don't know." And he's like saying how it takes time, but then he literally does create the 2 mutants. But like I said, they have minds of a baby, and then Shredder calls them stupid. I also think the infamous line, "They're babies!" And then Professor's like, "Well, what did you expect?" But I think these 2 mutants do basically become sort of warrior-like when Shredder gives them armor, since he's what they got. And I gotta admit, their designs look okay. Like, they don't look as, I don't know, weird as the turtles do in this. Like, I just gotta talk about the designs. Like, the designs of the turtles, they're more lighter than the last one. Like, they look totally different in this movie, for sure. But they still have that same look the costumes looked in the first movie. Just a little different. But later, the turtles do move to a new sewer. And they say goodbye to April with Mikey saying some sort of gibberish, something, I don't know, and it makes April laugh. But Raph, of course, being pissed off at Leo, for some reason, he decides to leave. But the turtles do find their new home, and it's basically an abandoned subway. And I think this set was used in the next Mutation Ninja Turtles show, so that's something. But Raph later teams up with Kino to find out the secrets of the Foot Clan and Shredder. Well, I don't think they know Shredder's still alive. But Kino basically infiltrates the Foot Lair, and he goes through the trials of. And this shows how the Foot Clan is definitely a community. They end up testing this one instructor tests Kino to grab a bunch of like these marble things to get him off this fake dude thing. But they put the smoke bomb, and then Raph swoops in and helps. But then Kino's basically initiated, and he joins the Foot Clan undercover. But then Raph and Kino do almost see Shredder, and I just like it where Raph thought he saw a ghost, but it's too late. Raph is ambushed by a bunch of foot soldiers and Tatsu, and Raph tries to insult him, but Shredder shows up, and Raph's shocked that Shredder's back. And then Kino runs away. He tries to find April. He's panicked, but then April shows up, and I think he just told her what happened, and that's where the turtles are basically going on a hunt to go find Raph. And then they go to the junkyard, but it's an ambush. They are put into a giant net, and but we think they're about to get crushed by these giant spike things the Shredder put, but they are saved by a Splinter, and that's definitely something. And Raph is just, I love the part where Raph wants to get untied and ungagged after being tied to a pool, and Donnie keeps like putting the mouth thing on and putting it back on or something. But then they end up bumping into Razor and Toka, and they have a little battle. And they do end up rescuing Professor Perry after he's been held hostage, like I said. And then they find the little sewer, and then I think Mikey found it. He was delighted. But they all climb in after the little cold fight, and then Toka ends up falling into the sewer, but he's too big that he can't fit through. Mikey ends up tickling his feet while his feet are like dangling for the sewer. And then the turtles go back to their lair, and Professor Perry is like fascinated that Ninja Turtles exist. And he just like claps his hands basically. And so later the turtles basically are kind of a little frustrated that they're trying to find a cure for these the two mutants. But with the help of Professor Perry and Kino, they end up making a cure by putting it into a donut. They made this retro mutant. They even have a cup that has Bart Simpsons on it, so that's cool. But they end up going back to the junkyard after Toka and Razor also were terrorizing the city a little. But and Shredder tells them to just play and have fun. But later, they do go back to the junkyard, and then the turtles have the donuts, and then I just love it where Leo's like, "We got a propose for you, the humble donut," and it's going to be very hard to use these antidotes on our two mutant buddies, but they got armor now and they're ready for a fight. But instead, the turtles end up getting thrown into a wild party. And that's where we get the infamous Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go, where the turtles have a little dance number with the singer Vanilla Ice. I think he's retired, but I actually do like the Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go song. It's actually catchy. And they end up taking down Tatsu. I love it where they smash their shells on him and he's just down. But then the turtles use the antidote finally on Toka and Razor, and they turn him back into a dog, and I think it was like a werewolf or a dog, and Toka's back into a regular turtle. And Professor Perry grabs the last mutagen because Shredder broke in, but apparently before he showed up, they threw the mutagen they were trying to track down, and then Professor Perry grabs it, and that's the last we see of him. And this is where people thought we were going to see him being Utron, but it didn't happen. So it's honestly debatable if Professor Perry is still human or maybe he's an Utron. We don't know. But the turtles, after the dance number's over, Shredder does break in, but he threatens to use the mutagen, I think on himself or some random girl he grabs, and turtles say don't. Oh, I forgot to mention, Kino was trying to meditate with Splinter, but he says he has to be there for the guys, and Splinter tells him he's being impatient, but then Kino just runs up to where the turtles are, and he literally kicks the canister of ooze out of Shredder's hands. Yeah, and what happens next is quite crazy. The turtles end up having a final battle with Shredder on some bridge thing, and Shredder uses the mutagen, to basically create a Super Shredder. My biggest disappointment with the Super Shredder, as much as this design is amazing, they don't really have a fight, because Shredder ends up just destroying the log things that kind of collapse on him, and then Leo's like, "Shredder, you're gonna kill us all," and then Shredder's like, "So be it." He ends up destroying himself. He basically got himself killed. We almost thought the turtles died. I love the part where their shells come out of the water, but then it's revealed they're okay. And they say, "Oh, man, I love being a turtle." But we see the Super Shredder literally digs his hand out of the rubble, and they're shocked because they thought Shredder died, and they're saying, how can someone survive that? But Shredder wasn't alive, he's dead. And they're glad the Shredder's finally gone. So yeah, Shredder got himself killed. Honestly, the stuff they did with Super Shredder in the 2012 show was amazing, and I can't wait to review that. I'm not going to go too in detail with it, because I want to review it one day. But this Super Shredder was definitely cool, but they kind of wasted it. Like, they didn't show too much. Like, we could have gotten more Super Shredder. But I wish we could have gotten a fight. But anyway, the Turtles are happy. Everyone's home. But then Splinter is upset. He actually calls his own sons idiots. And he decides to do this punishment where the Turtles have to do backflips. That's where the movie ends, after it's revealed that the Turtles are on the news for the Go Ninja Go thing. And Splinter actually says, go Ninja, go. And then the Turtles do a flip, and that's how the movie ends. So that's Ninja Turtles and the Secret of the Ooze. It's not as good as the first movie, but this is definitely a very fun movie, an easy movie to watch. Like, for sure. There were some disappointing aspects of it, like no Casey Jones. I feel like them trying to tone down the darkness from the first movie was just not necessary. But then again, this movie got backlash. The first one got backlash over the violence. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be a problem if the movie came out today. But anyway, this movie's very fun, like I said. The cast is very good. Yeah, it has a bunch of fun characters. And so I give this movie 1 out of 7 out of 10. So we're going to review Ninja Turtles Season 3. And after we're done with that, we're going to review the infamous Ninja Turtles 3. So what'd you think of my review on it? And anyway, thanks for watching, and Turtle Power.